Hello and thank you for joining me today on the Political Conversationalist. My name is Ben Phipps and we're still talking about divisive issues. Today we're talking about the Electoral College. It's going to be a brief video today because I want to talk about what it is, how it works, why it is, and my opinion on it. So firstly, the Electoral College is what elects the president and vice president. The Electoral College is kind of an intermediary step that the Founding Fathers put in place so that the public didn't directly elect the president and so that Congress didn't directly elect the president, and it was kind of a middle ground. The way it works is that each state has a certain number of congressmen and each state has 2 senators. That number put together, say we have 10 congressmen and 2 senators, then this state would have 12 electors. Now most states have a winner-take-all type mentality. So if Donald Trump, for instance, wins 51% of the vote, just barely edges out and wins the vote in North Carolina, all the electors in North Carolina are counted for Donald Trump. Now, the reason it was set up like this to not be a direct public democracy type election, a direct public vote, or by popular vote, that's the word I was looking for. The Founding Fathers thought that it would be unwise because people were unlearned about politics, were misinformed, and would be swayed by whoever came to their town and said whatever. And back then that might have been true. But it really comes under fire during the presidential elections when people who lose the popular vote end up winning because of the electoral vote, and that's happened 5 times. John Quincy Adams won in 1824, Rutherford B. Hayes in 1876, Benjamin Harrison in 1888, George W. Bush in 2000, and Trump in 2016 all lost the popular vote and won the electoral vote and therefore became president. Now, although back in the day it may have made sense to even out the balance between states, I don't think it does because Americans are more American now than they used to be. And what I mean by that is that we don't really identify with our state as much as we used to. Back then it was the colonies. They were very independent. They wanted to keep their independence from the federal government as intact as possible. Yet nowadays it's not like that. We're Americans. I happen to live in North Carolina, but I'm an American. And the same would be true for a Californian. They are an American, but they live in California. That kind of national identity, in addition to us being more informed than any other generation previous, with the internet, newspapers, magazines, all those things, although it is sometimes difficult to sift through the opinionated articles, we are well enough informed to choose our own presidents. Another thing that I believe is a telling reason of why we should get rid of it is because we have certain states that are considered battleground states that can flip and flop between Democrat and Republican as the cycles go on. And those states get a lot of attention from the candidates, yet we have states that always go one way or the other. They get no attention from the candidates, or very little. And also, there are some states that have, the votes in those states have a higher value, for instance in Wyoming, because there are fewer people there, but it's more similar in the number of electoral votes to, say, New York, although the count of the populace is so far off. Then that means a vote in Wyoming can be up to 2 or 3 votes worth of value in New York. Those things tend to marginalize states that go one way or the other always, and it marginalizes people who live in very highly populated areas. So what I would encourage us to do is to look at getting rid of the Electoral College and going to a strictly popular vote system. Because I don't believe that the American public, as the Founding Fathers did, is not well informed enough or not smart enough to vote for the president. No, in fact, no one else is qualified, in my opinion, to vote for the president than the American public themselves. Also, we don't need that 6 degrees of separation between, well, we don't want it public and we don't want it Congress. Congress shouldn't be involved in the choice of president at all. They spend most of the 4 years fighting against the president or doing everything he says, so they shouldn't be able to choose who they want. The electoral vote is an antiquated hurdle to democracy that should have died a long time ago, but for some reason just hasn't. The only downside to abolishing the Electoral College would be that we would have a lot closer races and we would have to be a lot more accurate with our counts so that we definitely got for sure when races come down to the wire, as Bush and Gore did in 2000. So anyway, I hope you learned a little something today about how the Electoral College works. I hope you learned why I think we should get rid of the Electoral College, and I'd like to hear your thoughts down on that down in the comments. You can always like, subscribe, comment on my video if you have any questions, if you have any comments or concerns. You can also follow the link through the description in my Facebook page to email me through there if you have a longer question or would like to submit a question to our Q&A videos that we're planning in the future. I definitely want to hear from you. I want to hear your input. I would like to hear an argument in favor of the Electoral College because I can't find any, really, and I don't see a reason why it hasn't been abolished already. Anyway, thanks for watching.